it seemed very clear from the onset that ordinary South Africans found this announcement appalling. However, and this is where I want to dwell for a moment on the show, who I've now come to call the establishment broadly. Who am I talking about here? I'm talking about the ANC government, ANC politicians broadly, the corporate media in this country, the corporate media in this country, and again, I dwell here because they've been the most toxic of all, because they are the loudest voice in the room. But anyway, the corporate media, those corrupted sections of the medical fraternity, and of course Big Pharma, have colluded, and it's quite patent that there is a collusive force, and almost axis of evil, if I can steal from a one George W. Bush, where they are pushing this messaging using fear and literally drumming the messages in all aspects. Nick, we've been bombarded by this notion that, oh, Omicron is definitely the reason why we should now mandate a vaccine if we are true. The other part of the argument, Nick, that they present, if we're to avoid hard lockdowns and bring an end to the pandemic, then everybody needs to vaccinate. But clearly there's holes in this argument, Nick, if you look at the data around the world.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've spent the better part of 2 years arguing that there are holes in the entire narrative from the very beginning. There's no aspect of the narrative that doesn't have a major hole in it. To start off with, this thing is presented to the world as something to which everybody is at risk, and that's false. This is a disease that affects a vulnerable minority, and for the rest of us, there's negligible risk posed by this disease, and therefore the reaction was grossly overwrought. Then off we go, and 80% of our population gets infected with the virus. Very sadly, a few people die with the virus. Some of those die of it. And that's kind of how life goes. In a way, we have respiratory viruses. We always have had respiratory viruses. So now that we have 80% of the population who've been infected and who therefore have durable, robust, long-lasting immunity, broad immunity to the disease, we now hear that we need to mandate a vaccine for everybody, and not just some kind of conventional vaccine that's been tested over years and for which they've done the full suite of trials that would normally be done to approve a new class of therapies, but one which has caused an unprecedented level of adverse events, not just in America, where the famous VAERS database has produced this outcome, but in the Yellow Book in the UK and in Eurovigilance in the European Union and in countries all over the world. So we have the most dangerous vaccine ever to be launched en masse, and they want to mandate it on people who have a population that has 80% recovered from the disease and has nothing to fear, and that their propensity to transmit the virus is not improved in the slightest by the administration of this vaccine to them. So there's the only conclusion you can make is that these people are absolutely bloody bananas. Martin Kingston, who's putting pressure on the president, he's been adrift of the story from the very beginning. I met with these people. They had the most outrageous lunatic models predicting mayhem and disaster. They were wrong. They stayed wrong. They never recanted of their errors. For the whole duration, he's been in favor of lockdowns, which has done nothing to help the situation. We have now 50 scientific studies showing that lockdowns do absolutely nothing to reduce death. In fact, they are pro-contagion. They reduce the situation, in addition to having caused massive collateral damage. Cretins like Kingston are responsible for more death and destruction than this country has seen since I don't know how long. And here they are now, obeying the corporate overlords in the pharmaceutical industry and advancing an agenda of mandating vaccination upon a population that is largely already immune. And it is completely absurd.